When a young man chooses to leave his young family, his wife and children, just because he wants to experience a stage of life that he feels he missed just because he married early, you know you have a problem. This is the story of Enzo Fernandez. It's unraveling right now. Before we get into it, I want you to like the video, comment in the comment section below, and subscribe to the channel. And thank you so much for helping me reach 2,000 subscribers. Our goal now is 3,000 subscribers. Help me get there. Let us get into this together. Enzo Fernandez is a wonderful player. He's a Chelsea midfielder, and he's been performing maybe rather in a mediocre way in recent months, but he is a good player. Okay, but what I want us to focus on is not what he does on the pitch, but what has happened to him in the past few days outside of the pitch. I want us to talk about what has happened to him between him and his wife, and I want us to really draw that cultural conversation into what is happening in Malawi, especially in colleges. I want us to draw that parallel because I'm telling you right now, these things are going to grow more common than you think. So let us get into this story. So the article I came across is from 18 Football, and the headline is 23-year-old Enzo Fernandez divorces wife of 6 years to live single life he missed out on during youth. Okay, so let's read part of this article, then I'm going to show you something that you don't want to miss. Now, the Argentine international has once again wrapped himself in controversy. The article begins. This time he's been outed to have separated from his wife, whom he shares 2 young children, for a shocking reason. Report, Enzo Fernandez separates from wife and kids to live single life he missed out on during youth. According to reports, Chelsea midfielder Enzo Fernandez has separated from his partner of over 6 years after telling her he needs to experience the stage he skipped out on by choosing to start a family early on. Okay, so the post from All About Argentina on X said that Enzo is going through a separation with Valentina Cervantes, I think. According to Julian Jen, he told her he wants to live life on his own. They are still a family, but he feels the need to experience the stage he skipped by choosing family early on. So the article continues, his now former partner, Valentina, confirmed their separation on Instagram, saying that the pair will always be family. This is what she said. Enzo and I have decided to take some distance from each other today, but we will always be family, and we will support each other in everything because there are 2 children involved who need a lot of love from us, she said via an Instagram story. I know the person Enzo is and what an excellent father he is, as well as the heart he has, and that is enough for me. Please don't try to create conflicts where there are none, she said. Okay, so I want us to talk about this because this is a very, very interesting development in Enzo's life. How does a person go from having a wonderful family, having 2 children with a woman who looks like she's a wonderful woman, because even now she's trying to shield him and her family, protect them from any criticism that may come their way. Okay, how does someone move from that and say, there is actually something that I feel I missed out on when I started my family early? And some people in the comments will actually agree with us to say, probably starting a family early is not a good idea because you want to experience everything in your life before you actually settle down with somebody. What if you have not really lived your single life before you start your family? Why do you want to pin yourself down when you can explore options out there and actually live to the full and then decide to say, I'm going to settle down? This is actually a blueprint that is being laid out by most people in the world. I want you to listen to this video by a certain lady trying to explain the whole phase, something called a whole phase. Okay, and why it's justifiable. And then she gives a little bit of a warning there. I want you to look at this. This is shocking. Let's watch it.
I think it's important that the ladies watching this that are going through the hoe phase don't feel bad about your hoe phase, but also don't let it be a crutch. Don't let it be the reason why you don't grow, because I'm very big on who you allow in your space and in your environment will totally influence you as a person. So if long term you want marriage, you want to have that special person, at some point you cannot allow your hoe phase to be a crutch and just say, well, this is just what I'm doing, knowing in the back of your mind what you really want. There's some point where you have to look at what you're doing and how you're moving and understand that other people see that, other people recognize that. And a man is so smart when it comes to looking at a woman and knowing what that woman's potential, worth, value is. So if he looks at you and he can tell that this isn't a phase, it's just how you move, and there's nothing that he can look at beyond that, where do we go from here? So enjoy your hoe phase. Don't feel bad when you're going through it, but also don't get too comfortable, because you will stay there.
So this is what is going on nowadays. The whole phase is simply a phase where every young person, not just women, not just men, but every young person is being encouraged to say, go out there, explore your options, make sure you sleep with as many people as possible. And then after you've done all that exploration, that's sexual liberation, come back now, decide to get married and settle down and have children. Okay? People are treating life that way in our time, and you see it every time in colleges, especially in Malawi. You see it that there are so many people who go to college and they begin to think of college as their whole phase, meaning that they will go to college and experience everything sexually. After college, that's when they'll get serious with life and then begin to make better decisions and take better options. But I'm telling you, life has a rude awakening. This is a very dangerous thing that people are espousing out there. One thing that I want you to understand, and this is something that I talk about in the first book I released in 2020, where I say that a person cannot go through a stage of promiscuity and not have it affect their future. Every decision that you make will have a bearing on the results that you will get in your future. The Bible tells us that God cannot be mocked. Whatever a man sows, that he shall reap. And I'm telling you, every time people are trying to make a mockery of God by choosing wrong choices and thinking that their future will unravel in a good way, life does not work like that. While it is still day, you must learn to make good decisions. These issues of whole phases do not help. I'm telling you this. Now, back to Enzo Fernandez's story. What is Enzo Fernandez planning to do? What does he mean by the single life that he missed out on? I have a few random ideas. I'm not saying this is the truth, but I have a few random ideas. Having counseled people for some time now, I have a few random ideas. This is what I'm going to share with you. The first thing that I think he wants to do is that he wants to get involved in this whole phase. I feel like he thinks he missed out. He didn't explore as many women as he could have. He feels like maybe he got married too soon. Maybe if he gave it time, he could have had maybe some enjoyment. Why is this something that is plausible as with regards to him? It's plausible because when you get married that young, what happens is that you begin to look at your single friends, because he's surrounded by celebrity players who are very much single. They are always going to pubs, always doing things, enjoying out there, partying. And then he himself always feels like he's tied down by the love of his life, by the children that he has to make sure he's taking care of. There are so many responsibilities in life that he just wants oxygen. He just wants to be liberated. And when that begins to happen, you start to see a man not looking at his responsibilities as something that is joyful and something that he has to sacrifice for, something that he has to approach with so much fulfillment and find meaning in that. But he begins to look at what other people who are single are doing and say, maybe I'm missing out on something. This brings me to my second point. When you are in a relationship, avoid spending a lot of your time with people who don't share the same phase of life you do. When you are in a marriage, when you have gotten married, avoid spending a lot of your time with single people. Get around some good married couples who are not toxic, but married couples who are enjoying their life together. This is what people do not understand. Every stage of life requires boundaries. And when you choose to say, I'm going to get married early, there is nothing wrong with that. Nobody should even tell you that you're missing out on something. You shouldn't get married early because you're going to regret it, because you're going to start to wish you had taken more time. Don't let anyone tell you that at all. What I want you to understand is God has set out a path for each one of us. If God says you should marry early and make sure you embrace that season. But make sure as well, when you get into that marriage, establish boundaries around you. Do not just keep people who are single in your circle, because you start to peek into something that you already left behind and start to think, maybe I should have, maybe I could have, maybe if I did this? And then you start to second guess the very path that God has ordained for you. I know Enzo Fernandez is not a born again believer per se, but one thing I can say is this. Maybe his upbringing was not as good as other people. Maybe he didn't come from a stable household. Maybe you made a decision in a rush. Maybe he impregnated a girl and then ended up saying, maybe I should just marry her as the right thing to do. But he wasn't ready for marriage. It could have been that he was not ready for this phase of life. That could have been the case. If that is the case, we always encourage people to say, make sure you prepare for these things. Don't just make these decisions on a whim. But that doesn't mean you can't marry early. It doesn't mean that you should marry late as well. So you must make sure that you make your decisions in accordance with what God has apportioned for you. But if you decide to marry early, make sure you're ready for it. So it could be that Enzo was not ready for it. Okay? But if he was not ready for it, this was not the time for him to change his mind, because there's already children in there. There's already a spouse who's depending on him. The right decision could have been, let me get counseling. Let me maybe walk through this and make sure that I'm a better father. I'm a better husband for my wife. That maybe I should get into a good mental space through counseling, marriage counseling. That's what you do. The solution is not to leave your partner and your children because they've already arrived. It's too late now. Okay? This is not the time to be saying, I need to get involved in my single life. What I'm telling you is this. Remember, every phase of life requires preparation. When you get into it, make sure you tell yourself, I'm not going to look back. And whenever you're facing difficulties, there's counseling. There's help that you can obtain from your pastor. There is help that you can obtain from trusted friends. There's help that you can obtain from parents. Okay? You do not have to make decisions like this. Because to be honest, this looks immature. This looks reckless. This looks like a young man who is overwhelmed. This looks like a young man who is being misguided. You understand what I'm saying? This is what happens. But what I'm saying is that when you make decisions like this, make sure you have counted the cost. And when you get into them, make sure you shut the back door. Okay? And make sure you establish boundaries. You protect your relationship, your marriage, by surrounding yourself with some good people. And people who have working relationships and people who have working marriages. That's how you protect your connections. Do you understand what I'm saying? I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. What do you think about this? Until next time, have a good one.